Tonight on Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405, Your In Focus continues with a look at the City of Tshwane and the debate now turning into housing. With us in the studio, Abel for Action SA. We've got Pogiso Mthimunye with the Democratic Alliance, as well as Maluleka representing the ANC. And on Zoom tonight, we have Jaco Mulder with the Freedom Front Plus, Dr. Murunwa Makwarela with the COPE Tshwane mayoral candidate there. We've also got Obakeng, Ramabodu, EFF Tshwane chairperson, and we're also joined on the line by Mzolisi, Mohlaodi, independent council candidate in Olivenhout-Bosch, and we have Ronald, Morake, Tshwane ACDP mayoral candidate there, joining us on the line. So before the break, you're raising issues of one, telling people to occupy land. I'll get Obakeng to respond to that in a moment. But my question was, what was the confusion around the beneficiary list?
I think so. It's not an issue of a confusion per se. It's an issue of a contested space in terms of that. Obviously, that was a cooperatively done development with the provincial government, and in terms of who needs, because of the demand that is available and how you process applications, it did not easy just to come to a landing of exactly in who's going to move in and who's not going to move in. So while that was being worked out and processed, then people just do this thing of moving in. And now there's a new problem that is created of now people that are being in, while we've not yet resolved exactly how the applications will be processed. I spoke earlier, Tabo, about the demand. It being so high, once I give you and I don't give Aaron, you are going to raise an issue, why him? But and I came here first.
They put it easier. They said, well, yes, if I publish the thing on the newspaper, that level of transparency will let me know I'm number 50 on the line. We are still issuing 25 houses. So clearly, I'm not getting in this round. I'll get it in the next round.
Look, for me, I'm open to that. I'm open to doing something like that. But we need to think about the consequences of those types of things. I mean, if once you publicize and I'm behind Abel and there's one house remaining, what are the consequences? And I'm just speaking about that now. So it's something that we can consider and something that can be a solution, but let's also check the unintended consequences of that.
Abel?
Tabo, thank you so much. You know, I think we're beating around the bush when it comes to the housing issue. I think Olivenhout-Bosch is a typical example of populism, and when politics, overtake principle. The principle here is that people who are not supposed to be beneficiaries have benefited, and therefore, if we are people who want to obviously respect the rule of law, we should have gone through the correct processes and removed those people. Another elephant in the room, Tabo, is the issue of illegal migration. Now, what you would see, I have been in Olivenhout-Bosch, and some of the people who've occupied those houses illegally are people who should not be the legal benefit
of those who.
Yes, and that is why we come under fire when we talk about the issue of illegal immigration in this country, because there are a lot of challenges that come with it, and unless we are bold enough as leaders to say there is a problem here, that there are people coming into this country, coming in illegally, and they need to be housed somewhere, therefore they come into this country and house themselves somewhere, which as South Africans we should be very worried that we are not taking ourselves seriously, that you can come into our country and break the law and be so brazen, and we all allow that kind of anarchy to prevail, and then you have people to come on national platforms like this and defend such nonsense. That's where we have a problem, because as leaders we need to be saying, how do we build a city that, especially a capital city, that we all can be proud of, that when the world looks at us, would look at us and say, this is a place where I can go invest because the city is safe, because the city is led in a proper manner, that services are flowing, and that you've got leaders that are responsible and understand what is expected of them. But also, if I may, just running through that, what needs to happen as well is that we cannot allow a situation in terms of this lawlessness that we don't budget adequately to curb land grabs, and that has been the problem in the past 5 years, that we could not curb land grabs because the arrangement that was there between the EFF and obviously the DA at the time, and we need to be frank about it, was that if they were to vote for certain things, then we needed to turn a blind eye on certain things, and one of those was the policy of the EFF of saying anyone who sees a piece of land that they like, they must occupy, and therefore some people needed to turn a blind eye on that, and some of us were very vocal to say we need to stand on principle, and that is why we walked out of that toxic environment, because you cannot sell your principles in order to have your seat in power. It doesn't work like that.
All right, Obakeng, chance for you to respond now to those issues around inflammatory statements that are irresponsible, that promote lawlessness, your lack of understanding of inner migration and so on and so forth, and how the demand is so big, and how it needed to be addressed.
There's no lawlessness about asking people to occupy land, people who are landless. Let me clarify, the people of Moyi Plus, upon arrival, the government of the EFF in Tshwane will get a land and build them houses. But to say we must remove people of Oliven is not a solution. So these political snobs who come here and speak as if they understand the issue of staying or living without any housing or living in an environment of informal settlement, they don't know. All of them, they've never stayed there. So they don't know the pain of those people. So they can come here on camera and say that they are going to remove the people of Oliven. So the people of Oliven must know that the ANC DA Action SA wants to remove them from those houses. So when they vote tomorrow, they must know that these ones, they want to remove them. We don't want to remove them, but equally so, we will identify land and build for the people of Moyi Plus, and we'll start a new process, a new list of beneficiaries of Moyi Plus. So the issue of land, we are not going to spend a lot of money, millions of money on eviction, paying red ends and spending a lot of money on Metropolis, eviction tax team of Metropolis. No, we're going to have an office in the office of the human settlement that will be dealing with land. So we will be doing a land audit that will identify a land that is not occupied. And part of that land will utilize it for giving our people a bulk savings stand to build for themselves, but also the other land will use it to make sure that the companies that wants to invest in our city, they come here and we give them rebates and make sure that they get the proper infrastructure with the condition that they will exchange that with jobs. Okay. So in the government of the EFF, we don't need that. There won't be a land grab because there will be a proper arrangement of people who want land. They will go to the offices in Tshwane House. We'll have an office that will deal specific with the issue of land because we take land serious. So these ones who are running government, we will always occupy land because you don't prioritize land. So this occupation of land is a protest of the past of 1652, Yabo Jan van Riebeeck, who took our land. We are dealing with the issue of the past, of the people who stole our land. Coming here as agents of defenders of...
Okay, we've got to move on. Jaco, there is huge land hunger and huge need for housing with informal settlements that are growing every financial year. How is the Freedom Front Plus going to address that?
November. Come again?
No, question for Jaco. Jaco, how is the Freedom Front Plus going to address the issue of land hunger and the issue of housing?
It's obvious, Mzolisi, man. It's obvious.
Let's have Jaco respond.
Okay. Thank you. Now, I've been listening to what the previous speakers said. Of course, land is an emotional issue.
I'm not a previous speaker. I'm Obakeng. I'm with you there in council 5 years. You don't know my name. You're racist. Why do you say
Obakeng?
Obakeng, you don't know my name.
Obakeng, allow him to give his response.
I call him Councillor Jaco there by...
Obakeng, allow him to give a response. Jaco, go ahead.
I can't say a previous speaker.
Thank you. Of course, land is an emotional question, but it's very true that one can't create a new problem by invading land illegally. One cannot occupy land that has been allocated to other people. We all know that the MEC, Lebogang Mahile, has been in possession of court orders which he is not actually carrying out, of bringing people from land which they occupied illegally. By occupying land illegally, one creates a new problem, which is not a solution. I also agree with the fact that we're sitting with a large illegal immigration of people into South Africa, to Gauteng, and to the Tshwane metro area, and law enforcement agencies should actually act on that. So the Tshwane metro won't be able to sort out this situation on its own in isolation. there should be interaction with the provincial government and national government on this, but it's very important that we should stick to rules. And another important thing is, of course, economic growth. The high level of joblessness in South Africa is creating a real problem for us as well. So economic growth and law enforcement, illegal immigration, we should stick to the rules, and then we will have order in the country. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Makwarela, do come in with your thoughts, how we address the situation of the people in Tshwane, 16.4% living in inadequate housing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tao. I think one has been listening, I think, with utter disappointment, because we are backing the wrong tree, Tao. Look, I've indicated here that it's a gross underperformance by the city. Now, let me just give you a little bit of some history. I mean, our Congress of the People, we have a nexus with what we call the Freedom Charter of 1955. We say the people shall have houses. And I think the previous governments in the city of Tshwane have demonstrated that they have no appetite whatsoever to provide adequate housing for the people of Tshwane and I guess the country at large. Now, we as at the Congress of the People, we have a solution for all this. Number one, let's first appreciate that there is underperformance in the city of Tshwane. Let me just cast the spotlight on the company that has the mandate to build a housing infrastructure in the city of Tshwane, Tshwane Housing Company. Just last year alone, that company built 0 houses, low-cost housing, 0, and I mean 0. And if you look at the backlog that we have, I've indicated earlier on that the service backlogs are accruing all the time. We are not eliminating the backlogs that we have in the city of Tshwane. There is a vicious cycle of immigration. We know that this is a general phenomenon around the world, that people come into the cities from rural areas. In fact, as a matter of fact, I think within a few moments or couple of years, we shall have 70% of the population living in major cities. Now, a big city like City of Tshwane that is failing to appreciate that kind of immigration by the citizens, I think it's really a regret to have that kind of a situation in the city. We need to spatially plan, and we need to begin to have master plans that will begin to provide water services, electricity, all the basic services to our people. If we fail to plan, then it means we are also we are planning to fail.
But are we not making promises of land that is actually not there? I mean, the NC is saying part of the issues that we need to be doing is actually looking at building up instead of building wide, because pretty soon we'll run out of space.
No, Tabo, that is not correct. Look at all the informal settlements that we have in the city of Tshwane. We have more than 200 informal settlements that are in the city of Tshwane. The city of Tshwane just last year alone has only formalized 8 informal settlements. Can you imagine? I think you correctly stated it when we started the conversation on around housing. You cannot be formalizing 8 out
but are all those informal settlements on land that we can build on?
Not really, Tabo, but I think we need to conduct, and we can't be waiting for people to occupy and then we begin to conduct geotech studies. We need to foresee this. We need to plan ahead. I mean, the city does not have capacity to plan at the moment. I mean, I think even the previous governments, they are not showing interest to house our citizens in the manner they should be housed. And I think it's high time that the citizens out there wake up, and smell the coffee, that they will keep on waiting, they will keep on illegally occupying houses, because the rate at which we are building houses, it's a far cry from the rate at which people are waiting for those houses.
Absolutely.
I mean, what do you expect?
No,
we
absolutely.
just need to plan. There is land that is out there. We need to formalize the land that is correct geotech studies conducted on it, and we need to be proactive. We don't have to wait for people and then go and evict and do this and that. Otherwise, I think we are just planning to fail. And I mean, at the City of Tshwane, really, we just need a change, a complete change of government, because every 5 years, you will just have excuses upon excuses. I'm just pointing the fingers inside. I'm saying the city of Tshwane is just not performing. I just told you that out of 33 KPIs, the city has just, performed on 48% of those KPIs. What do you expect?
Let's take a break, Dr. Makwarela. We'll come back to those issues also in a moment. Staying with us here, Pogiso, Mthimunye, Maluleka, Abel, Obakeng, Ramabodu. We also have Ronald, Morake will respond in a moment. Jaco, Mulder, and Dr. Murunwa, Makwarela, then Mzolisi, Mohlaodi also with us on the line. We'll take some of your views and your thoughts in a moment. To stay with us. Back tonight on In Focus, Newzroom Afrika, channel 405, and it's the voice of the electorate, and continuing with some of those issues. Action SA, DA, ANC, EFF, COPE, as well as ACDP and Freedom Front Plus, and independent candidates with us tonight, vying for that very important metro. It's the battleground. That's the city of Tshwane. All these parties wanting an outright majority because the DA, of course, feeling that the coalition, or at least the voting arrangement with other parties, didn't quite work for them. And, of course, the ANC also wanting a downright majority in a metro, which they, of course, previously governed, and they lost to the Democratic Alliance. Ronald, let's get your views on the housing question, then we'll move on to the billing crisis. What is the view of the ACDP on the housing crisis in Tshwane?
The culture of corruption and criminality is at play, and it's the norm now. Political parties are stealing from themselves and from the people they represent and actually asking votes for. Both the ANC and the EFF has become bogus developers, selling sites all over. And then the historical deadlock of housing is very high. When you check from Westford to Denville right now, you will realize there is cosmopolitan construction happening there. There is enough land to provide for our people. But both the ANC and the DA are responsible for selling land to developers. All over, developers are building houses and flats, but no one is providing for the poor. And then we also want to eradicate the question of an RDP. Give people sites to build them for themselves. If an RDP will come in another year.
Yeah.
The question of RDP for votes must come to an end. RDPs are only built when elections are near. So we just want to give people land. People must get land as much as the DA can give this cosmopolitan land. And I wonder who this cosmopolitan is. Everywhere there is a cosmopolitan construction. So the culture of tenderpreneuring is at place. Things must change. We as the ACDP are coming, and we will take things over.
Right.
If the ANC and the DA don't want to do it. Thank you very much.
Ronald, Morake, I appreciate it. This idea of a land audit. Why is it all of a sudden a new thing, right? Why is the ANC, who, since the inception of the metro in 2000, was it 2000? Yeah.
Yes.
Why have you never thought of this idea of doing a land audit and understand how much land is there and providing land for the people?
Then let's compare apples for apples. Look at our performance in council. That we had a project called Tshwane that gave in, before even we dealt with the issue of land, availing land to people, service stands. Tshwane was a successful project. You get into our performance, you will see that the most informal settlements were eradicated. Look at Mamelodi and Attersville, what we did, our track record in Soshanguve, areas that we formalized. Therefore, look at what happened between 2016 and 2021. DL worked with EFF, whom I can term pay as you go. Give them what they want, they will agree with you. Attersville was invaded by many farmers. They sell land so that they can be able to amass votes. And these are EFF people. Therefore, they think it's revolutionary to throw in people in lands that are reserved for agriculture, land reserved for housing development. The area of Moiplas is dolomatic. You can't build houses there. Therefore, ANC decided to put people in Oliven and build them houses. EFF encouraged that they should be invaded, those houses. Therefore, the issue of land audit, we dealt with developments, identified land. We bought land to make sure that we put houses. Yeah. And I think the most progressive thing is as an authority, don't let developers to lead you. What you need to do is to identify land, get in and put bulk service. It's not cheap to put bulk service. Yeah. It's a little bit expensive exercise, yeah. But wherein you get partnership with developers that can put bulk service, you allow them to build houses. Because it's not amazing. We're living where people are coming. 10,000 people are migrating into urban spaces like City of Tshwane monthly. Yeah. Therefore, it means you should be ahead in terms of your plans in making sure that you respond to the need. You can't fold your arms and throw your hands in the air. Yeah. That people should find different ways of settling themselves. Rental stock is important. Yeah. Young people want to get jobs. When they come into the city, we need to give them alternative. Therefore, rental stock, it's something that is viable. Yeah. And the missing middle want to be housed where they can be trust-orientated development. People can get transport. They can be put into rapid transport. They can be staying closer to where they work. Yeah. Therefore, people want to move away from cars.
You were MMC at one point. I don't know if it's infrastructure. It's not necessarily housing. But how does this thing work? Is there land? Do you know? I mean, how do you run a city up until this point and not know how much land is available to build houses for people? And people have this sense that there is land. So there is dolomatic land that is there. They look at it and say, no, it's land that is lying empty. So we occupy it.
Look, Tabo, it's really unfortunate that sometimes politicians become populist and then we want to be liked by people. Tshwane does not have a lot of land available. Where there is land in the far east of Tshwane, there is not enough infrastructure, especially electricity. Areas such as Irefilo Extension 10, you can only electrify that area, I think, around 2022, 2023. There needs to be a substation built there. You need to have a Veldebeer infeed station that needs to be built to cater for the growth of Tshwane in that area. So to come here and say, there can be available land in the city and we need to do a land audit, it's also disingenuous. What people need to be told is that proper planning wasn't made over the years and we did not really heed, the calls that were made for us to adequately plan for the inward migration and the changes. But also what has caught us, napping was also the issue of illegal immigration that has affected us so much, especially in the city of Tshwane, where we really have a lot of undocumented migrants who obviously need to be catered for, and therefore with that kind of situation, there is a lot of land grabs, and there was no planning around curbing the land grabs that are there. But we've got a solution. You see, we can sit here all night and talk about the problems, but we need to build confidence in the people of Tshwane that their city can be turned around and be fixed. And that's what we need to leave here with people having hope. And one of those things that we did, Thabo, about a week and a half or two ago, we went to Johannesburg and demonstrated tangibly what Ndate Mashaba did when he was in government. He had taken back, using existing laws, he expropriated buildings in the inner city, and then he's gone on to give them to the private sector, and we've turned those around. We've been to a building that was at some point a no-go area, and we went in there. It's a student accommodation today, where it is really livable and it is world-class. So those are some of the solutions.
From the close to 500,000
exactly.
backlog that you need to deal with. It's a couple of units of houses.
Yes, but you look at Schubert Park, you look at Kruger Park, you look at those derelict buildings that can be brought in. Aaron spoke about densifying and going up. You look at Pretoria West, it's completely hijacked. And those are spaces that if you take back for the city and you start densifying those areas, you automatically start dealing with the issue. But also the issue of service stands. I mean, we all come in this time of elections and say service stands, and then once this is done, then we go back to our to the old way of doing things. We need to really look at those pieces of land.
But I'm not hearing that in any of the campaigns. I'm not hearing people coming and saying honestly that look, if we are to develop Pretoria East, it will take us up until 2022 just to build a substation. Of course, we know how long those things can actually go for and how over budget those things can actually go for. But nobody's saying that. They're coming to people and say, we'll give you houses tomorrow, as if it's something that can happen instantly, or there's land that you can take instantly.
Yeah, and I think there is a level of irresponsibility of some of the parties here. But be that as it may, I think one thing we must acknowledge is that Pretoria is one of the fastest, or Tshwane is one of the fastest growing metros in the country. And there is a lot of investment at the top end of the market around the Pretoria East area, around the Centurion area. And it's not something that we need to sit here and look at in a negative light, because that's the type of investment that brings revenue in the city. And when you bring the revenue in the city, you are able to cater for the lower end of the market. And this tendency of looking as if by developing the one end of the city, you're not developing the other is actually incorrect. By allowing and enabling the development of those other areas, you are creating the capacity to do the development elsewhere.
I don't think that's the question. The question is the neglect of the other part.
No.
While you are developing and advancing the other area, doesn't mean you must neglect 100%, the other. We can do both.
It actually strengthens your ability to do that, because you've got more resources to do so. I'm saying that I spoke about earlier the Maraba Start Townlands initiative that people are going into in December. I think based on also what Aaron has said, that is a watershed project for the city. Because if you look at cities that are highly dense across the world, he's very correct, they are high-rise. And the high-rise allows you to deal with the quantity that you want. It allows people to give access to the city. And then it really allows there to be a lifestyle around the housing and not just the housing. Everything else in terms of land is being dealt with from that perspective of saying we will identify some of the settlements that can be fixed, or some that where service stands can be made, or we can upgrade them. But it won't be all, because there is a tendency of people to just locate any piece and put themselves there. Now we can't go to every piece that is being identified. It would be irresponsible. So there is city planning, and city planning is happening, and Tshwane is developing. And we will see with this townless development that we speak about in the inner city, that it will be a move in a new direction for us in terms of our mixed housing model that we want to undertake.
Obakeng, your final thoughts on this one?
Thank you very much, Thabo. Look, we want to tell you the failures of the DA. The DA failed to deal with the issue of Hammanskraal of water. Out of 14 plants, only 2 is operational. They promised us 10 metropolis per watt. None of them, that is happening. They sold a mayoral house and they promised to build 40 houses. Go and with your cameras and check what is happening with the 40 houses. They promised a drug unit. They never supported that drug unit. It's not doing the job. They promised to conclude the Caledonian Stadium and refuel. Go and ask them what is happening. Now, they promised to deal with infrastructure. None of that is happening. Currently, they are spending 72 million on water leaks in the city per financial year. They're spending 62 million on the potholes. They are spending a lot of money. They had projects, that the capital projects that they were supposed to work on. They had 276 of capital projects. They only did 102 in the last financial year, in the fourth quarter of the financial year. Yeah. They failed to perform, like the doctor from Cope was saying. The money had to go back to Treasury. And the 3 departments that were supposed to deliver that, the Department of Human Settlement, Department of Road and Transport, and Utility Services, they are still operating nicely. with only 32% of their budget that was supposed to be spent. So unfortunately, the money had to go back to the infrastructure grant. So these guys, Tabu, they must not blame anyone. They got their 5 years. They couldn't use it. It's time for the EFF to go and deliver for the people of Tshwane. We want to expropriate land for the use of burial use. Currently, our people are paying 1,600 to bury their loved ones. We want them to bury them for free, because what are the costs for? We want to deal with the issue of towing of cars. Our people are paying 1,900. We want to reduce it through the bylaws, of course, in the council. We want them to pay 500 rand. There are many things that we want to do. Yeah. We want to give the graduates of Tshwane a graduate grant. They must have money that they get from the city, which is a stipend. Meantime, they are looking for employment, because we are graduates that are sitting at home. There's no employment, while the ANC and DA, they are busy talking too much. They got their chance. Maluleka, stay in the opposition, chief. You got your chance. Tau, you got your chance while you were in the DA. Afri Forum, or is FF Plus, you are a minority. You represent Afrikaners. You will run during the Afrikaners government. Now, it's time for the EFF to show the people of Tshwane. Come the 2nd of November, we're going to have a mayor with a red one. We're out of time. Let's do it there. Obakeng, we're going to wrap up. Okay. Dr. Makwarela, your final thoughts?
No, thank you very much, Taban. I think you have heard for yourself, viewers, and I think this is the right time for you to make the right choice. The previous government have failed dismally. Nothing is going to change. As COP, we are saying the city is regressing very badly. It's no removal of service backlogs that is happening in the city of Tshwane. We are saying COP has the technical experience and know how to turn the things around. We need to introduce master plans for infrastructure, bulk infrastructure. We need a spatial orientation of the city that will also expand in terms of economic zones that are located in different areas of the city. We want bulk services to be accessible to all the people in the city of Tshwane, in particular the people of Hammanskraal. We believe that, I think it's treason that at this point in time, in the capital city of our country, we still have people in Hammanskraal drinking water from water tanks. Yeah. I think that's travesty of justice. So we are saying, bring in COPE. We have solutions, tested solutions. We even have, experience to work in international partnership kind of arrangements, so that we can turn this thing around. This thing is it's fixable. It's not, something that cannot be done. So, Dr. Makwarela, we will see progress in no time. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Jaco, quick one for us, a minute there. Let's just wrap it up. Your final thoughts? Jaco Mulder? Oh, you're muted there. If you can unmute, please.
Thank you. Yeah. Most of South Africa's municipalities are in total chaos. We're sitting with a similar situation at Tshwane Metro, where service delivery is poor. The Freedom Front Plus joined the election with the slogan, stand up, stand together, stand strong, and stop the decay. Every voter must understand that the future is in their hands, and a very strong message must be sent that the decay will no longer be tolerated. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Ronald, your final thoughts?
Corruption is what kills our country. I have done my groundwork as a ACDP in Tshwane. We've got men and women who are ready to take over in the 7 regions of Tshwane. And then we are going to make sure that corruption is eradicated completely. And one other thing that is forgotten is the churches that are being used for votes. Both the ANC and the DA has held the churches at ransom by giving them a letter called "You May Occupy." We are going to give those churches their title deeds. Yeah. Enough of using sites for votes, be it the sites for people or the sites for churches.
All right.
We are ready to govern. Thank you.
Ronald, appreciate it. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. That's how we leave it for tonight, and that is, of course, where we wrap up for this debate. Thank you for your participation and sending through those messages. In Focus continues in a moment.